going to be used for generative gaming intelligence in the very near future, in my opinion. So that's why it's important for our users to own this data as well. And everybody who contributed, we know who you are. One day, royalty is gonna come to you.
You almost say that a little ominously. We know who you are. But I'm
Like,
sure I know you mean it in the best way. I know it.
like for example, winter is quite cold in Mongolia in general, right? And then the way I live, especially the city, it's like minus 30 degrees, things like that. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Unbearable for a lot. But then what happened? You go to Gobi Desert, it won't take you longer than maybe like if you drive faster, 12 hours maybe. You know, for us, like 0 degree, it's manageable.
It's balmy. It's nice. Hey there, and welcome back to Swept Media, the convergence of AI and Web3. Today, we'll talk about a niche of Web3 that gets a lot of attention from builders and users, but which tends to struggle to be sticky. That is gaming. For some context, there are over 3,000 playable Web3 games right now, according to DApp Radar, but most users are likely to have heard of less than 20 and to have played even fewer than that. But the sector has a $12 billion market cap. Very, very impressive. So how can we get aspiring gamers gaming to earn more and possibly making games better in the process? That's what today's guest, co-founder iAgent Jamie Batzorig thinks he's found the answer to with AI technology. I'm your host today, Brian Newar, and let the games trading begin. Jamie, thank you very much for joining us today, and congratulations on the AGNT TGE.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian. Pretty excited to share the topics today. And then, yeah, we had TG happened about a week ago, so it's a pretty good event. But we more focused on the product and community and all those things at the moment.
Great. Yeah, we can talk about the token a little later, but first, I want to ask you broad topics. We have to get to know the man behind the project. Which came first in your life? Was it gaming or was it building tech? And how did that happen?
Definitely gaming. I'm a gamer from very young age. I started playing when I was maybe around 10 years old. And first I had the Sega and just played anything that I find there with my brother. Then we went a bit serious. We went to gaming cafes back in the day, and then start playing against other kids and all that. And then kind of really uh, caught into competitive gaming scene. So me and my brother, he also played bit competitively a few games, but I spent, I would say, maybe 6 7 years of my life playing professionally. I played StarCraft, which is a very popular game in Asia, mainly in South Korea at that time, and big influence from Korean communities to my country. And then I played afterwards Counter-Strike for 5 6 years. Yeah, that was basically my youth. Yeah,
Classic games. Classic.
yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. StarCraft is huge. I think colloquially, you're not allowed to graduate high school until you can finish StarCraft in like a minimum or with a maximum amount of clicks on your mouse. You have to use all keyboard. Have you ever seen them playing? It's like no mouse. They're
Um,
just using the short keys, the hotkeys all
uh,
the time.
no, I don't think I did. But sounds pretty crazy.
It is
I
crazy.
might check it out after. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And Counter-Strike, yeah, everyone's played Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
I was let's see, the PC games that I played, I didn't get into StarCraft until much later. I was more into Warcraft and early GTA. And then by the time I hit college, I was like all Call of Duty. That's when Call of Duty 4 came out and the online play came on and Modern Warfare 2. That was a life changer. Complete life changer.
Yeah, for sure.
So first gaming and then building tech, right? So you saw
Um,
an issue with you probably saw some issue with how maybe not in the online games. It's a lot different in the online player, the multiplayer
mhm.
games. More so in the single player games that it has a more linear structure where you play the level and then there's a boss at the end.
Hmm.
Maybe sometimes the bosses became too predictable. Although I will say that uh, FromSoft might have solved that by just making their games ridiculously hard. Uh, However, it's still pattern based. So you're building something with iAgent that is essentially AI based technology that is designed to train AI bots to play video games based on real life footage, right?
Hmm. Yeah. So let me maybe start with the reasoning behind right why why we wanna do this first place. So I remember I also play, I never quit playing actually. Even now I here and there in it, and anytime I got like extra, like half an hour or so, I try to pick up something. But um when I used to play World of Warcraft, I would say that was the very also very, the my most enjoyable gaming RPG gaming experience that I had, like, for forever, I would say. That game really, like, was, in my opinion, like all days of metaverse. Like, you live in the game, you have a bunch of dungeons to do. You can tame a fit, you can do have a profession. There is a marketplace you can also sell in-game items, then you can craft new items. So there's so many gaming activities that happening in the game. And I also remember I was like very big into collecting items in the game, I played like 2, 3 years and become a big collector and spent a lot of hours in the game and all those things. And I know that for a fact I actually didn't experience this, but I remember that there was an incident that how World of Warcraft removed in-game items, which was wizard stuff. They removed a very powerful item, and that was after I quit playing. But I also know that a lot of items that in game I lost them because the account change and everything. So, and I figured out that how Vitalik Button, he actually experienced this in live event. Like, I think one of the uh, incident that drive them to start Ethereum chain. That's what I read on the internet. Definitely some truth to it, I think. So because the gaming item got not lost, because game decided to just remove it. You know, I think thousands of players got impacted by this action, but Blizzard never did any action afterwards. I think they didn't have to say sorry as well. It's just one of the game item removed. So which led me to kind of start thinking how important is to having in-game items or anything that, because at the end of the day, a lot of hours and time and sweat that went into collecting this item, I know firsthand. and and then having it as your own digital asset really really kind of makes sense for me, right? And then especially when we kind of start thinking of building a digital asset for gamers from their gameplay footage, then we really kind of focus on making it as a digital asset, and that's one of some of the main initiatives that we are working behind the scene. But I want to give you maybe a high level overview, very easy way to understand what we are building at iAgent. So basically, we are building visual learning engine. We call it visual learning module that enables any game studios to be able to train the gaming agents, which are human trained agents from gameplay footage. So our uh, Cortex is visual. We work with visual data and then computer vision, behavior cloning. So basically, we extract gamers' knowledge from the gameplay through behavior cloning methods, and then we transfer this gaming knowledge into the AI bot, AI agent right now. And those agents gonna try mimicry or game style and gameplays and game patterns. That makes this asset quite unique, right? It makes it almost your own asset because it's from your gameplay. or depending on different game uses, maybe game studio wanna do game bots and things like that. But really, it comes down to user-generated asset of its own. And we believe that this needs to be digital asset. It gotta be on chain. We know how Web3 users appreciate the gaming, on-chain gaming asset, whether it's a game skin or whether it's game items. Especially that once you are training for your gameplay, we want it to be digital asset. So that this is pretty much our focus area, and we know that at the same time we also believe that it's gonna bring a lot of enjoyable experiences to particular games. I wouldn't call every game yet till it gets tested and then accepted by the communities. But just because we are in Web3, we were fortunate enough to be able to work with gaming studios directly with their allowance and their support. So that makes us in a very unique position to try and do a few testings, even having access to the game itself, pre-alpha, beta test and all that. So we're quite happy with the progress we're having right now, and started working on the game integration for a couple of other games at the moment.
Which games are you already working with, or which games are is Agent iAgent already helping to improve?
Sure. So we first created agent demo and agent examples, samples in Counter-Strike 2. That was really makes sense for us to kind of one of the most skill-based, skill required, complex, fast action game, right? So we did the game test, the agent training there, agent training environment, knowledge layers, quite a few things, and then we ended up training very first human trained agent from one of the team secrets, pro players gameplay footages. And I know that it's not like 100% up to level that we wanted to call this as a one-to-one copy, but it's still like copied a lot of the game aspect this player showed in the game. And then we know that we need to do this with a go-to-market fit, right? We need to capture the audience that available, who's also in a space who's also ready to transact with the blockchain. That's why we started reaching out to Web3 games. Right now, we work with quite a lot of games in terms of like kind of initial interactions, collaboration, discussion about how do we gonna do the integration. So with this range of games, we talk to Pixelmon, we are very close to Godzilla, Off the Grid by Godzilla. We started collecting visual data for those games, as well as the game that we very excited, as the game that has quite unique user base, active user base, and then up and coming. We found the Cities in Conflict by Kurpai Studio, and it's a really good looking and up and coming game, and mainly because we have also really close relationship with the game devs and game studio, we decide to do the game integration firsthand. So right now both teams are working on the integration part. Our AI devs are doing the game integration takes a bit of time, but what I'm trying to say is that our visual learning module itself is a scalable solution for actually any type of game. But right now, it's much easier for us to work with first-person shooter style game because a lot of existing infrastructure designed for that. But again, the same approach, same learning from visual data can be adapted to other type of games as well. So, it's a slow. It's not jump. It's a sprint. We know that we are progressing every day, weekly basis. So we seen the progress. So our goal right now is to showcase first stage and in real game with real support and real backing.
So is it easier for iAgent to integrate into existing games that already have everything kind of built for it, or is it easier to kind of start fresh with a new game, both from a technical standpoint, in terms of collecting the data and then applying it to the agent that would be or the bot that would be put into a game, and from a business standpoint, from a profitability or revenue standpoint.
Yeah, I want to put it this way because of the way way we extract knowledge from data, visual data. Actually, we we don't really need game access, game code or game data set or none of that. All we need is quality gaming footage that has quite different amount of skills and gameplays, game overlays and things like that. So which makes us also in a very unique position as a project to be able to adapt into any game that we might want at any certain time. What doesn't make sense as doesn't makes doesn't give us a kind of um, licensing to do it. You know what I mean? We cannot just create agent for PUBG and deploy it on our own and call it as agent. It's not a bot, but the official partnership, everything had to happen, which we know that at certain point of our growth and performance, we're gonna know that we're gonna be able to talk to those games as well. Because right now it's that we trying to build the framework and everything, so that once we start show the progress in particular games, that a lot of doors gonna start opening, right? So I would say easy to work with existing game from technical side point of view because game is smooth, game is running, there is user base. Also at the same time, it's also makes some of the job integration part of it, make it easy for devs to communicate and get some certain aspect to talking to the backend developers. But again, we don't require any of the game access, anything of that nature. So purely visual data based training.
And you have at iAgent, people contribute their own videos, their own gameplay footage to the project. They get paid in tokens. What's stopping iAgent from just taking a game streamer like on Twitch and collecting? Because there must be thousands of hours of thousands of hours of gameplay footage on
Mhm.
Twitch like every single day. Why not just farm that uh, instead of relying on the community to provide their own footage?
Sure, that's a good question. That's a question that we had to answer quite a few times to partners and all that. It, it, it makes the reason why we also start collecting data from our community is one is that we getting copyright from them at least to use this uh, high quality footages for good use, training agent, creating agent, initial agent configuration and agent base. But at the same time, also it's much easier for us to work with quality footages rather than Twitch stream can be many different qualities, many different screen zoom angle, all this aspect. So not only that we collect the visual data, we compress the data to a certain standard that works for us before even sending it. So like for example, if you had to record Twitch streams, by the time you compress it, the quality of footages, n- because 1 terabyte of gameplay footage on its own with 180, let's say, quality, it might hit over like um, one hour footage might hit over like 3 to 5 terabyte. But by the time we receive this data, even before the user send it, we compress it to like 10x smaller, but it's still not losing the quality. So that's how we collect those data. Right now, we have, I would say, I haven't seen the latest data, but I give you one for citizen conflict because we're working on the game integration. We have over 5,000 of hours of footage from our community, very organically. We haven't even announced the incentive model yet. Very organically, they provided on their own, and that lead up to I think 7 terabyte or something, 5,000 hours, 7 terabyte. So you see the quality of compression there, and we still get a lot of visual data to work with, and so that's why we need get the gamer data directly to us through our application. I want to add like last piece of the puzzle. When you provide this visual data, of course, it's something that we gonna progressively add as infrastructure. Is that already all those visual data you as a user providing, getting hashed and becoming like uh, on-chain, on-chain, not stored on-chain, but getting that on-chain metadata to it. So we know that who provided when the gamer is provided, it's his gameplay footages, even if you have to reuse it or use it for third-party application or anything in nature, that user is eligible to get the reward moving forward in the future. So we're creating also another revenue stream model for contributors to be able to monetize their gameplay footages. You don't just play games, you also be able to generate revenue by giving it to right people, contributing to innovation. Is something that we also kind of working our way in.
So that's like royalties, basically.
Yeah, something like that.
Wow. Who needs Twitch anymore, right?
And
And did I hear you?
everyone can be contributor provider passively. All you have to do is play the right game with the right quality, and one day you'll be able to monetize those data.
Oh man. So did I hear you right? It was 7,000 hours of gameplay footage compressed to 5 terabytes?
I believe it's 7 terabyte. I need to exactly check, but that was rough numbers I remember just from today's call that we had. Yeah.
Hmm. And that at 1080p, like it's full HD resolution?
No, no, it's compressed quite a bit. So
Okay, okay.
it's still like, what's it called? Enough for us to train agent, as well as it
Okay,
is
okay.
still enough for us to label data label. So yeah.
Well, that's some alpha. Revenue streams on iAgent go beyond just submitting your video footage. Well, that's you love to hear it. And the next question I was going to ask you is about the unique value proposition for iAgent. What exactly is it? Uh, I guess you could say then that it's potentially in the future this royalty thing, royalty structure for people who submit their footage. But maybe more specifically, how does the visual learning model, and that's I think the way that you're describing the technology that iAgent is building, the visual learning model, the VLM, work at iAgent, and how is that unique?
Mhm. Um, sure. So I think the main USP for any type of AI agent, or whether it's gaming or non-gaming, is give you that automation or makes some of the a rigorous task to be automated or progressively you can enjoy that agent activity or automation, right? So I think with kind of this kind of understanding, we go basic. I think you have to go down to the game level understanding and game mechanic. So for instance, I just throw in some use cases based on what we believe and what we see, is that agents can be used as a gaming in-game trainer asset, maybe. For example, you'll be able to have your agent playing alongside you or your friends, or you're playing against you. That type of opportunity be created. And also, let's say on pro players or very popular Twitch streamer agent, they be able to allow or enable their agent to be able to communicate with their community. Basically, now that you don't have 24, like, you won't be able to play, hundreds of thousand people at the same time, but maybe your agent can do it because it's automation. And also, I give you a very different perspective. Agents, human-trained AI agents in games can be your companion. That can come in form of many different form and shape. But for instance, Pixelmon is a good example that game that wanna have 600 plus in-game pets in future. And all those pets can be trained individually by individual players. We don't know exactly that's gonna get actualized, but we can be contribution or contributor to that initiative. if game wanna allow every pet to be trainable by every user, that gives like another, level of sophistication or enhancement or engagement to the game itself. Now, instead of you have all of us having this generic pet, they might look different than each other, but they all do the same thing. Or maybe some has, for instance, we all know that some hits harder, some hits lesser, right? Other than that, like what's the uniqueness about them? But what if you be able to train your pet and bring it to the gameplay with you and face your opponent, and he has his own trained pet. Now that creates like completely different scenario. So that kind of future we foresee with the human trained agents or gamers to be able to train their own agents and use them in games. I would say that that's kind of the like very rough idea still. Like I wanna throw it so that you can imagine the rest. I would say there can be many ways that agent can be used in games.
So they're kind of like Pokemon then. You have to train them up, collect as many as possible for different games, and then deploy them. Then when do you expect to see iAgent be used or be integrated in mainstream games?
I think yeah, right now our focus is to really show um high quality agent gameplay. We wanted to show that these human trained agents are much better than bots, maybe, right? And once we show that in one game, we want to replicate this in the second game. That's why we have the couple game integration happening parallelly. Once that got replicated, I think we're looking at yeah, mainstream game adoption, because by the time it happens, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are gonna wanna have their own agents, right? Yeah, like maybe not as a
Absolutely.
digital asset yet, maybe. Web3 users for sure they wanted to own it, but mainstream games can use it as a, other type of asset.
So the I get the utility for having an agent play games for you in Web3 games, especially for those play to earn games. Like before, you would just see basically a wall of phones, and people would be playing Axie Infinity, clicking on their wall to earn as many AXS tokens as possible, right? So if you just had a bot playing those for you, you don't have to walk along the wall. You can have the agent do all of that work for you and start farming the
I would say that's also a game breaker. If this is this agent, it's exploited that way. Like everybody gonna have agent coming in, start
yeah.
farming the tokens. By the time everybody farms, game token gonna have no value in it. But our approach is, because we doing this officially, like a part with the partnerships, we finding different ways in which game itself kind of get benefit, not rather game get bought to like level that they cannot even fight against. But we wanted to make sure agents created in a way that it's a much more exciting for their user base. But there is a certain limitation, of course, game itself can offer to their users. I think, for instance, we're looking at AI agent gaming arenas only, maybe at the beginning stage, so that if you want to come and play with AI agents, you can, because there is 9 of them, and you can join as a 10th player to train. It's much better than like, let's say, traditional bot experience, things like that, because a lot of those agents going to be very dynamic. A lot of them going to be different than each other, depending on how they trend. So yeah, I think based on use case, based on game allowance, all those things, agent gonna interfere with interact with the users. Is what we think is the right way to do it, and that's why we here listen to everybody, try to work with everybody.
Okay, so then what is the typical profile of an iAgent, a person who is contributing footage to iAgent these days, as in who's really contributing the bulk of the gaming data and who's working hard, who was, I guess, because the airdrop is done, who was working hard to farm AGNT token?
Mhm.
Kind of a
Um,
two-part question, but I think they're
for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. In Web3, there is very less amount of gamers actually, like true gamers or hardcore gamers, which we do understand. That's why we had a lot of users, and then end up being the gaming contributors being less than 2,000 out of 500,000 user base that we had on the dashboard. That kind of makes sense, one hand, because one, we asking you to, download the application, record your gameplay, and then provide it, and then we promise you airdrop, but not exact cash price and bounty yet, right? But we know that there is a lot of willing gamers too that exist and all that. But for instance, this 5,000 hours of footage for Citizen Conflict is contributed by, I believe, 620 something people alone. And some guys had maybe more than like 20, 30 hours of gameplay. Maybe he enjoyed it, maybe he enjoyed the game, or he just really wanted to farm, which we don't know. But once we also do believe that when we start offering, this as a reward based program, so that we show you definite amount of prizes that you can win, and then we're gonna see much more acceleration. But right now our goal is reached with this initiative. We still wanted to collect more gameplay data from different tier of users. We want very top tier gameplays, and we have a system that can basically separate game level experiences naturally in our data infra, so that we can say who's top tier players, who's mid tier players, who's just playing, who's just standing in the game. You know what I mean? In a rough manner. But the next round of initiatives gonna be, says, we also work with quite a lot of partners. One of the partner called ORTIC. They do data labeling. They do collect data, textual, audio. They distribute reward to the user for their contribution. They're building decentralized data libraries and all that. And we had the unique opportunity that we can be the close partner. They're giving us a grant to use their storage for quite some time. And we are already loading up the storage right now, and we're also gonna do certain activities together to start labeling and creating libraries around those gameplays. So it will be much kind of unique approach to the ways that others are doing, but we're gonna have library of only, for example, pistol gun gameplays or something like that, just to give you an example. And all those things and put in different libraries that are gonna be used by us, as well as I do believe this kind of high quality, sorted, organized data libraries uh, gonna be used for generative gaming intelligence in the very near future, in my opinion. So that's why it's important for our users to own this data as well. And everybody who contributed, we know who you are. One day, royalty is gonna come to you.
you almost say that a little ominously. We know who you are. But I'm sure I know you mean it in the best way. I know it. How would iAgent go about competing with the AAA game studios if they, like Ubisoft or From Software, just said, we're going to do this now. We're going to they
Yeah,
because surely they have the resources to
for
do
sure.
something like this. Uh, how do you stay ahead of the game, or how do you position yourself from a business standpoint to possibly be the one that gets acquired by a Ubisoft or From Software in the instance that they want to start uh, doing exactly what iAgent is doing, and instead of doing it in-house or building something from scratch, they just make an acquisition or hire someone.
Yeah, of course, that's something that like quite highlights the scenario, right? When they see it, when they might want to do it on their own. But we believe that we as a project, we as a community, we are very unique intersection between blockchain and AI. And because of we are blockchain native, and we also has full understanding of creating ownership and creating digitizing this asset, not only the gaming agent, also the footage and everything, which puts us in a very unique position as a project to be able to build a cohesive infra for everything. Not only the agent training part, we can also digitize your agent as a digital asset class. It coming in form of new standardization. That's what we're working on right now. But at the same time, there is approaches that we take beforehand to showcase this. Like actually, we give you agents to work with. So, you know what I mean? At this aspect, maybe E- EUE or Ubisoft might not have.
Oh yeah. I I seriously doubt that they have it right now. Um, which brings up the next point. I know that you've been really busy. But what games have you been playing these days?
Honestly, I haven't touched the games. I think last couple months. Yeah, I played this game. I played Dota 2 just very casually. Uh, I wanna play, but no time.
Yeah,
The truth. But I prioritize everything before gaming
no, I get
anyways
it.
those days. But I think I've become more of an observer than gamer anymore. I'm watching tournaments here and there because I'm not good at the games anymore. I feel like I shit every time I come back.
You lost your
Like
touch.
yeah, I got worse and worse. That one. And two, like I'm kind of becoming fan of watching tournaments like in Dota, Counter-Strike, and even Valorant and different type of tournaments, just to keep my game understanding. There's so many small details, and this is exactly what we are harvesting. This is exactly we trying to
Yeah.
get out of the footages, different type of patterns, game behaviors, game strategies, mini mechanics, which is what we are adapting and then extracting from the footages and giving it to AI guy. So I hope that answers reasoning why I watch pro games in.
I mean, it's a multi-billion dollar thing. So I don't think anyone needs to explain why they're sitting on the train watching the StarCraft tournament at any time. It's entertaining and
Yeah.
it's fun to watch someone be really good at something. You know, those tiny, like you were saying, those little adjustments that a professional gamer makes in order to be really good at what they do, it could make the difference between you being a mediocre player and you being an excellent player. Those little things that on the margin, when you put them on paper and you write them down, they seem like nothing. But
Mm.
those marginal changes can dramatically affect how good you are at a game. And I guess that could boil down to like understanding the platform as well. Big question. What's going to come first, an ETH ATH or a native token for base?
Um, I don't think it is native token for base, so that makes me believe ETH.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there, or at least I did until Trump became president, because I think that one thing that was holding back Coinbase from issuing any kind of token at all was like regulatory uncertainty, but now it's like free for all. They might feel, well, if we're going to do it, we might as well do it now. If they're going to do it, I think it
Hmm.
will be in the next 3.5 years or so.
That could be, but I'm so by the way, we're building on base chain, and we're
Yeah.
getting a lot of support from base foundation and base dev team, the development department, marketing department, and in general, base team is really accessible and very helpful. I I really enjoy base because they don't have a token. Nothing is related to the token. Their activity is just happening. Chain is pretty quick. It's very friendly. It's a pretty good. They built a lot of good standards and everything. And I don't want to see the chain any chain to correlate it with the token price. If something happens to Coinbase or something happens to anywhere, base price comes down or their activity is gonna slow down, this type of thing. But I mean, that's my biased opinion. But of course, if when the best token comes, everybody gonna win big time. So,
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning.
Okay, so ETH first, only because there's never going to be a base token, right?
yeah.
Makes sense. So if the incentives are properly aligned on something like a base chain, in large part because there's no token, there's no fighting over uh the priorities that is at the leadership level, where should the priorities be? Meaning, should it be in keeping the token price high, or should it be on making builders happy, or should it be something else? Then how do you reconcile that on your project that has just issued a token, uh, in saying, well, how do you maintain the priorities at a very high level if and when token drops, like if the market really takes a dump and
Mhm.
AGNT token dumps, or if suddenly we pump and AGNT makes everybody a bajillionaire. How do you say that uh, the not having a token is actually a better business strategy if iAgent has a token itself?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, the on Bastion, I have my view, but for us, it's a little different view than Bastion because basically, AGNT token from the beginning created for AI agent economy. Like it's gonna be used for agent to be trained. It's gonna be used for. We need that utility actually for our protocol to be running. Even for our protocol, we have protocol nodes, validator nodes. Right now, they're getting into task of validating agent qualities, but we also have another roadmap for them as well. So incentivizing node contributors, incentivizing compute providers, uh, data providers, all those aspects. uh, If, especially as a newer project, if we try to do it without tokenization, it's gonna be tough, right? We're not base yet. Of course, uh, later stages, there will be much more Web2 friendly approaches, like that you might not need to even see the token to train your agent. You know what I mean? Like the fully fiat-based payment. But because we also native Web3 protocol, we want to offer a digital asset. Transactions had to happen that had to go on our protocol with our token, uh, transaction. So I think there is pros and cons to it, but way we see it is that we can definitely create a lot of use cases for our token just because our upcoming product and a few things are very related and natively evolving around the tokenization. And then at the same time, yeah, like we as a project, we need to create that volume, that use cases, utilities, flywheels for the token itself. So.
What's your outlook on the general landscape in terms of AI technology, its use cases in the Web3 space? Let's say over the next 3 years. In the next 3 years, how do you think that niche will evolve in Web3 space? And maybe how do you see yourself playing a role in that?
Yeah, I mean, next 3 years very hard to imagine. It would be. I think it's gonna be quite sophisticated in this space for sure. Because the way we also see short-term aspect of AI, I'm true believer of AI and blockchain combination, and especially I'm big believer in AI and automation and it to help human life and daily activities to be easier. From that perspective, I think I believe blockchain is a very complementary ecosystem and provides some of the missing pieces that AI solutions offer. We can start with transparency, privacy, and ownership. Um, so very complementary ecosystem. I think even short-term wise, we're gonna see quite an interesting AI agent development. No, even from our end, we will deliver. We show you AI agent that you'll be able to work with. I want to keep because before this meeting, I had to call with my CTO, and he said, the on a I told him I'm joining podcast. He said, don't mention anything. But
Mention it.
I'm,
Mention it.
so I'm keeping it. I just want to be very transparent. So way I see it, we're gonna bring in very unique approaches to agent ownership and agent use cases. We're gonna be move much quicker than Web2 space on especially agentic AI modules. Like in general, like bigger infrastructure AI, of course, it's gonna be dominated by centralized entities, billion dollar companies, things like that. We're not gonna change that, but we're gonna be accelerating a lot quicker on those agents and then agent activities, those type of thing. I'm very optimistic that we're gonna create breakthrough. Maybe not us, maybe somebody else in Web3 that gonna do the breakthrough on this.
So we should look forward to major advancements in agentic AI, basically.
Definitely,
That's where you think the focus will be.
yeah.
Cool. Well, I look forward to that. You should share a demo of iAgent age of a bot or a trained agent in action. Forget what your CTO says. Just share it and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we can overlay it. I can
yeah,
do an
yeah,
overlay of that
yeah.
footage on this podcast and show everyone what sort
No,
of
it's coming.
action.
Uh, yeah, gaming agent is coming. I'm very excited about actually gaming agent to do a lot of things for us. Also for gamers too. I think it's gonna bring whole new game interactions, in my opinion. So yeah, a lot of things on the way, at least from our end. So that's where I'm excited about that.
Great. Okay. Well, Jamie, thank you again for joining. I think we got a very big heaping helping of alpha on this one. Really looking forward to seeing how iAgent performs and fulfills the mission of making games better. So again, thank you. We will be in touch. And best of luck to you.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Thanks for having me.